This is a bit of a delay, isn't it? 2 weeks ago now, since West Ham agreed a deal with Arsenal for captain Declan Rice to head the Emirates, which is yet to be concluded. Declan is officially still a West Ham United player. So what's going on with this transfer? We've all got our own theories. I've got a couple, you'll have a couple. I'll share mine in this video. You're more than welcome to share yours in the comments. But before we get on to that, the reports and the theories, what I will say, I'm very, very confident Declan still becomes an Arsenal player in the next couple of days. I'd be shocked if Declan Rice is still officially a West Ham United player next week. I'd be very, very surprised. I'm still confident he's going. But last night the reports came out via Sky Sports that West Ham were somewhat confused about why there is a delay, what the delay is. And the reports were that the hold-up is entirely at Arsenal's end, that their lawyers have got the contracts, their lawyers are going over everything, and that West Ham are basically unsure as to why this transfer has yet to happen. Now 6'2" put up an article and they said in there that Arsenal are thought to be having some short-term cash flow issues and they need time to pull together the cash and they're probably going to have to borrow the money, and this takes time while the Arsenal lawyers are scrutinising the small print of the contract. Sean Weston did an update over on his Twitter account after what Sky Sports ran with. He or they at 6'2" reached out to a senior club source, and the response they were given said the Rice contract is supposed to be with their lawyers, but who knows what is going on. Now, actually, I'll do the update. This morning, ex-West Ham employee did an update off the back of all these reports last night, and X said there is no change in Declan Rice's situation. He's expected to release a goodbye video to West Ham and be officially announced either Friday or Saturday by Arsenal before joining up with their squad for the tour of the USA. So X is very, very confident that he will become an Arsenal player, and that's part of the reason I'm very confident he'll become an Arsenal player. The delay, we probably should have seen it coming really. One of the reasons could be because West Ham played hardball. We know that, and West Ham have almost wore it as a badge of honour, unofficially, through their sources, like what we've just seen there, which is, this is what we're demanding, this is what we're wanting, and we now know the structure of the deal. West Ham will receive 3 payments of 33.3 million, the first one this summer, next summer, and the following summer. West Ham have got what they wanted. Sullivan has got what he's wanted, but to do so he's had to play hardball with Arsenal. So I guess there could be an argument that this is almost not revenge from Arsenal, but it's a case of, well, we're going to make you wait now. You've got your way, we're now going to delay it, and that's going to agitate you, and it's a little bit of payback. Not sure I subscribe to that one completely, because I've got my own 2 theories, which I'm going to share with you in a second. That could be one theory. I'd imagine that will be a common one as well. My own ones are, first of all, wages. Declan Rice is going to be getting paid about £250,000 a week at Arsenal. That 2-week delay is £500,000. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. So it suits Arsenal to kick the can down the road a little bit. They've got the deal with West Ham agreed. It's in their hands. They know Declan Rice is going to join, so the delay probably doesn't really bother them too much. But I think possibly the real reason is Declan Rice is on holiday, or has been on holiday. He's been in Portugal. So first of all, even if they signed Declan Rice a week ago and gave him his 250 grand, he's still on holiday. He's still not going to be at Arsenal. But second of all, imagine the worst. I know this is incredibly unlikely, but imagine worst case scenario happen, which is Declan Rice got injured when he was in Portugal. Now, we've all seen the footage. Well, there's been lots of video footage coming out just of Declan having a kick around with some other players when he's been over there. Bruno Fernandes was there, Cancelo was there, Leao was there. So there's been quite a few of them just meeting up for their own training, to work on their own individual fitness program before returning to their clubs for pre-season training. Makes sense. It's a natural thing to do. It's a good thing to do. But could you imagine, like I said, it's incredibly unlikely, but could you imagine Arsenal signed off on a £105 million transfer and Declan Rice got injured when he was on holiday and he came back and he was out for a couple of months or something? How silly would Arsenal look? They've just spent £105 million on a player, now injured. Again, I am aware I'm reaching. So that was my own theories. My own theories is just simply wait till Declan's back from holiday and save a little bit of money in the meantime. But I've never been worried about Declan Rice deal collapsing or not going through, and I use the term worried because that would suggest I want it to go through, and that is correct. I do want Declan Rice to join Arsenal because I've got used to it now since the day after the final. When Sullivan basically said he's going, that was it. I was like, right, Declan Rice is gone now. He is gone. It's just a case of when who and how much, but Rice is not going to be at West Ham. So I've accepted it, I've got used to it, and as a result, I've almost started to look forward to it a little bit. Not West Ham without Declan Rice. I am worried about that because he's irreplaceable. I think he's irreplaceable anyway. So we're not going to be able to go get one player. That's why there's a general consensus among West Ham fans. We need two players. That's how good he is. We can't just get a defensive midfielder. We need somebody that can carry the ball at the pitch as well, because Declan could do both. And we can't find or afford someone that can do both. We can't replace Declan. So we need two midfielders to replace the jobs that Declan Rice did. So I'm not looking forward to West Ham without him. I'm worried about it. I don't have confidence in us doing the business we need to do for the centre of the pitch that's going to make us okay without Declan Rice. I'm worried about it. But I say looking forward to it because a lot of the reports this summer is that we need to sell Declan to fund our own business. And I've always been inclined to believe those reports because of who's been reporting it. And also, just the fact we spent 190 million in the last 12 months is a lot of money for West Ham. We can't do that. It's unsustainable. We cannot do it. So the fact that this summer we can only really spend what we bring in, I'm inclined to believe that quite a lot. So while the Declan Rice deal hangs in the balance, that would suggest it might be on, it might be off. It probably doesn't. But West Ham have to assume it's going to go ahead, and therefore go start inquiring for players, putting bids in. But what we can't do is start spending the money before it's done. So we're caught in a rock and a hard place, and I expect that's what we're doing. By the way, we'll get onto that in a second. I expect us to have started making inquiries and stuff. So is it delaying our transfer business? I don't think it is. I don't think we've missed out on anyone yet, and it's going, oh, if only Declan Rice said, like, we could have signed him. I'm not sure that's happened because we haven't got that far down in negotiations yet. I'd like to think we're acting on the assumption this deal will go through. But me personally, I'm ready for Declan to leave because I want to get on with our own transfer business. I want us to start turning those inquiries into formal bids and getting the players that we want in. Do I believe we're ready for it? Not really. It is somewhat concerning. I just get this feeling we haven't decided which players we want to replace Declan Rice yet. We have 2-3 years warning, and it's the same people. Moyes has been here for the last 3.5-4 years now. There's no excuse for him not to be prepared for no Declan Rice. Newman's been here for over a year now. There's no reason for him not to be prepared for no Declan Rice. Now Tim Steidten is obviously new to the role, but when he rocked up, the club should have had quite a substantial list of potential replacements for Declan Rice already. That should have been in place already. Tim Steidten should have the knowledge of players that could replace Declan Rice. And you'd imagine between the two things, that list and that knowledge, that they'd very quickly come up with a list of potential targets. But am I confident that we are ready to make those bids for those players? No, I don't know why. It's just the vibe I'm getting. That we haven't quite sussed out who we want to go get. So we need to do that sharpest. So we're waiting for Declan to go. I'm very confident he'll be an Arsenal player. And like I said, I hope he does become an Arsenal player so we can get on with our own business. Worst case scenario for West Ham, if it did collapse, which I don't think it will, just to reiterate, but if it did, we keep Declan Rice for another year. We've got a world-class player for centre midfield next year. Would we have any money to spend? Maybe not, but then that's when you sell another couple of players that perhaps you weren't. There's talk that we might sell Ben Rama, Cornet or Fornals. That you'd probably end up selling one of them and then replacing them, so on and so forth. But anyway, Declan Rice will join Arsenal. I'm quite confident. The other reports doing the rounds is that Tim Steidten is now inquired for 20 players. He's rocked up with 20 targets for West Ham, and West Ham have made inquiries on all of them. Good. It's exactly what we should be doing, and it will come across, I guess you could suggest it's a little bit scattergun. And I was probably guilty of feeling like that the last season or 2 seasons before that, where it feels like, and it does feel a little bit like that if you were to believe all the transfer rumours. But I guess there's a problem. I don't believe all the transfer rumours. But you look at some of the midfielders we're being linked with, and they're not identical. So we're linked with Ward-Prowse and Polina, and I know we might need 2, but let's just say we were only going to sign 1. Well, you're thinking, well, that's 2 completely different players, and that's why I had a bit of an issue with our striker purchases last summer, where you look with bought Skamaka, who I think is a great player, but you look at who we were bidding for, Broja, and Nesri. And you think, well, they're all different. There's no profile. You're not going after one type of profile here. We're just going after 4 or 5 different strikers, and they're all completely different types of players. That, I think, is scattergun. That's what I describe as scattergun. Where you're buying a striker, but you're not really buying a particular type of striker, if that makes sense. Whereas this kind, which is we've got inquiries in for 20 players, I don't class that as scattergun. I class that as sort of West Ham just keeping their options open. We might have 4 or 5 players that we're looking at to come in and play defensive midfield, and we're inquiring about all 4 or 5, trying to work out which one is the best value, who we can actually get, which players want to come, how much are the clubs looking for, how willing are they to sell those players. The Dennis Zakaria one feels like it's got a bit of legs to that story. Obviously, it's quieting down in the last couple of weeks. But again, I guess the reports add up there, which was we're just a bit unsure on his injury record, and we're trying to make inquiries into why he's been injured so often. And is it a big deal, or is that something that can be overlooked, or can we bring him in and keep him fit, kind of thing? So the Zakaria one feels like it's on the back burner, but it certainly felt that that was a legit transfer target. But yeah, that's the reports that West Ham have inquired for 20 players. Good. Let's get our transfers up and running. Let's start doing our own business now, hopefully. But it does mean that we need Declan Rice to get to Arsenal before we can crack on knowing how much money we've definitely got to spend. I think he'll be an Arsenal player in the next couple of days.